She said, "I'm taking my work husband as my +1 to my sister's wedding instead of you." I said, "Have a great time." Then I walked into her sister's engagement with my new date. What happened next? Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I've always been the steady guy, the one who keeps his word, shows up on time, pays his bills, and doesn't make promises I can't keep. I'm not flashy or unpredictable, and I never tried to be. I just thought loyalty still meant something. My girlfriend, Samantha, used to say that was what she loved about me. We'd been together for almost 3 years, met in college, moved in together a year later, started talking about marriage around the second year. I wasn't in a rush, but I thought we were on the same page. We even looked at rings once when we were killing time at the mall. She joked that she'd only say yes if I proposed somewhere Instagram-worthy. I laughed it off, but deep down, that little detail stuck with me. It was always about how things looked, not what they meant. She worked in marketing for a mid-sized agency. I'd hear stories about her coworkers all the time. Who got promoted, who got caught dating who, office gossip I never cared about. One name started popping up more often, Ryan. Ryan this, Ryan that. Ryan said the meeting was a disaster. Ryan made the funniest joke. Ryan always buys everyone lunch. At first, I didn't think much of it. I figured everyone has work friends. Then she started calling him her work husband. The first time she said it, I was making dinner while she was on FaceTime with one of her friends. I overheard her laughing. Yeah, my work husband Ryan saved my presentation again. When she hung up, I asked, "Work husband?" She smirked. "Oh, relax. It's just a joke. Everyone calls him that. He's like the office morale booster. Still sounds kind of weird, don't you think?" I said. She rolled her eyes. "You're being insecure, Ethan. He has a girlfriend. It's literally a joke." That was her favorite phrase when she wanted me to drop something. "You're being insecure." After that, I tried to ignore it, but it kept coming up. When I'd call her during lunch, she'd say, "Sorry, I'm eating with Ryan." When I'd pick her up after work, Ryan would still be in the lobby, waiting to make sure she got home safe. She started comparing our personalities. "Ryan's so outgoing. He just gets people. You should be more spontaneous, babe. Ryan says that's the secret to keeping life exciting." I'd laugh politely, but inside I was starting to feel like I was being slowly replaced in conversations I didn't even ask to join. Still, I tried to be supportive. I'd surprise her with lunch at her office sometimes, just to see her. Once, she looked genuinely uncomfortable when I showed up. I figured maybe it wasn't the right time, big meeting, stressful day, whatever. But on the way home, she sighed and said, "Next time, maybe text before coming?" It makes things weird when you show up unannounced. Weird for who? Her or Ryan? That night, I caught her texting someone after midnight. When I asked who it was, she said, "Ryan. He's freaking out about a client pitch." Then she laughed at her phone, turned the screen away from me, and said, "You wouldn't get it. It's an inside joke." I didn't argue. I just went to bed. The next few weeks, she got colder. Shorter replies. Less affection. More excuses about being busy. I chalked it up to stress from work. Until one evening, she came home in a great mood and said, "Guess what? My sister asked me to be a bridesmaid." She started listing all the wedding plans, the dresses, the venues, the family drama. I was happy for her. I even joked, "Better start thinking about what you want me to wear." She smiled faintly, but didn't say anything. I thought maybe she was distracted. A week later, I found out why. A week later, I was in the kitchen cooking when Samantha walked in, scrolling through her phone. She looked distracted, almost nervous. "Hey," I said, "your sister's wedding is next weekend, right? You figure out what time we're heading out." She hesitated for half a second too long. "Yeah, about that." I turned down the stove. "About what?" She set her phone on the counter and folded her arms, her tone way too casual. I'm actually going to take Ryan as my +1. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline. "You're what?" She nodded like she was explaining something perfectly logical. "Yeah, it just makes sense, babe. My sister and her fiancé love him. They've met him at a couple of work things. And you said you don't really enjoy big family events anyway." I laughed once in disbelief. "Samantha, that's your sister's wedding. You're my girlfriend." "What are you even talking about?" She sighed, like I was being difficult. "Ethan, don't make this weird. Ryan's part of my life, whether you like it or not. You get so tense around him, and I don't want that kind of energy there. I need this weekend to just have fun, you know? So you're taking your work husband instead of your actual boyfriend? She rolled her eyes. It's not like that. You're overreacting. It's just one event. God, you can be so controlling sometimes. That word, controlling, hit harder than it should have. I wasn't trying to control her. I just expected basic respect. So let me get this straight, I said slowly. You're taking another man, who you've emotionally prioritized for months, as your plus one to your sister's wedding, and you think that's fine? She crossed her arms tighter. It's fine because it's my decision. I don't need your permission to have a friend. Right, I said. A friend. She exhaled sharply, like she was the one who'd been wronged. I'm not doing this argument again. I just wanted to tell you so you wouldn't make a scene later. Please don't make this into some huge drama. I nodded. No drama. Good. She smiled faintly, relieved that I dropped it. I knew you'd understand. I turned back to the stove, stirred the pot once, then said quietly, "Have a great time, Samantha." She froze for a second, like she'd expected me to fight harder. Then she just said, "Thanks," and walked off to her room. I didn't go after her. I didn't text her when she left for the wedding that weekend. And I didn't answer when she sent a few pictures from the reception with captions like, "It's been such a fun night." The kind of fake happiness people post when they need to convince themselves they're doing the right thing. That was the night I realized something important. I didn't lose her. She'd been gone for a while. I was just now noticing the empty space she left behind. A few days later, I got a call from someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. Her sister's fiancé, Mark. He was starting a small logistics business and remembered I worked in supply chain. He wanted some advice, maybe even a partnership opportunity. I said yes, not out of revenge. Not yet, anyway. But when he invited me to their upcoming engagement party, and specifically mentioned that Samantha would be there, I knew exactly who I'd bring as my plus one. The few weeks after the wedding were quiet. Samantha came back acting like nothing had happened. She talked about how beautiful her sister's ceremony was, how emotional it got, how everyone adored Ryan. I just nodded and let her talk. I didn't ask questions. She must have noticed, because after a few days she said, "You've been so distant lately. Are we okay?" I smiled a little. We're fine. And in a way, we were. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't chasing her attention anymore. I started staying late at work, not because I was trying to avoid her, but because I actually cared about my career again. I reconnected with friends I'd stopped seeing. I got back to the gym. Meanwhile, Samantha's glow from the wedding started to fade. I could tell from the way she'd scroll her phone in silence, thumb hovering over her messages. Her little work husband posts disappeared one by one. Eventually, she stopped mentioning him altogether. 2 weeks later, Mark, her sister's fiancé, called me again. His business idea had real potential, and we hit it off right away. I helped him outline a plan, connected him with some people in my field, and before long we decided to partner up officially. He even said, "Man, you're gonna love the engagement party. My fiancé keeps saying you're one of the calmest guys she's ever met. You're like the anti-drama version of her sister." That last line made me laugh. When the invitation arrived, I almost didn't go. Part of me thought showing up might be awkward. But then I remembered the way Samantha had looked at me when she said she was taking Ryan. Like I was the boring, predictable guy she'd outgrown. I wasn't angry anymore. I just wanted to live like I never needed her approval again. I decided to bring someone new, Julia. We'd met at the gym. Confident, elegant, sharp sense of humor. The kind of woman who knew her worth without needing to prove it to anyone. When I told her about the event, I kept it vague, just said it was a business partner's engagement party. She agreed without hesitation. That night, Julia walked out in a deep green dress that turned heads the second we entered the room. She carried herself with effortless confidence, not trying to impress anyone, just comfortable in her own skin. The party was already buzzing when we walked in. I spotted Mark near the bar and waved. His fiancée ran up to hug me, thrilled I could make it. Then I saw her, Samantha. She was standing near the dessert table, holding a half-empty glass of champagne, mid-laugh with one of her cousins. The second she saw me, the laughter died on her lips. Her eyes darted from me to Julia, then back again, like her brain was struggling to catch up. Julia noticed the tension instantly. She leaned closer and whispered, "X." Something like that. I said. We kept walking straight past Samantha and greeted her sister. Her sister's face lit up when she saw me. Ethan, oh my God, I'm so glad you came. Mark told me you two are working together now. You have no idea how much that helps us. Happy to, I said. He's got a solid plan. Samantha's sister looked between Julia and me. And who's this? Julia smiled politely and offered her hand. Julia, Ethan's date. Her sister's smile widened. You look stunning together. Samantha's jaw tightened just slightly in the background. The rest of the night was effortless. Julia fit right in, chatting with people, laughing, actually enjoying herself. Meanwhile, I could feel Samantha's eyes on me every few minutes, watching me laugh, watching Julia rest her hand lightly on my arm when she spoke. At one point, I overheard her telling her cousin, "It's not serious. He moves on fast when he's trying to prove a point." But her voice cracked halfway through. I didn't confront her. I didn't gloat. I didn't even look her way again. And maybe that was what got to her the most, that I'd already stopped caring. By the time we were leaving, Mark came up and clapped me on the shoulder. You and Julia should come by next week. We're finalizing the deal paperwork. I'll text you. Sounds good, I said. As we walked past the exit, Samantha stepped forward. Ethan, she said quietly. Julia excused herself to grab her coat. I turned. Yeah. She looked unsure for the first time in months. You look different. I am, I said simply. Her lips parted, but before she could say anything else, Julia came back, linking her arm through mine. I smiled and nodded to Samantha. Take care. As we walked out into the night, I heard her sister's voice behind us saying, I told you, you shouldn't have brought Ryan to my wedding. That was embarrassing. I didn't look back. A week after the engagement party, Mark and I finalized our business partnership. It was small at first, consulting work, helping him get his startup idea off the ground, but things clicked fast. I was finally doing something I enjoyed again, surrounded by people who actually respected me. Meanwhile, Samantha was quiet. Too quiet. She'd gone from posting her little work bestie lunches every other day to complete silence. I hadn't blocked her, but I stopped checking. Still, mutual friends love gossip, and gossip found me. Apparently, Ryan had quit his job 2 weeks after the wedding. Word was, he'd been using Samantha to look good to management while quietly applying elsewhere. When he landed a position in another city, he didn't even tell her, just ghosted her completely. She found out through a LinkedIn update. I wasn't surprised. The work husband was always an opportunist. He loved attention, not commitment. But knowing how smug she'd been that night, she told me she was taking him instead of me. That hit differently. I didn't feel pity. I just felt done. About 2 weeks after the engagement party, she texted me. Samantha, hey, can we talk? I stared at the screen for a second, then locked my phone and kept working. 2 days later, another message came. Samantha, I think we ended things weirdly. I miss talking to you. Samantha, I saw you with that woman. She's really pretty. Is it serious? I didn't reply. The next evening, she called. I let it ring out. Then she tried again the next morning. I finally picked up, not because I wanted to talk, but because the noise was getting annoying. Her voice came out cautious, unsure. Ethan, please don't hang up. I just want to talk for a second. I said nothing. I know I messed things up, she started. I got caught up in stupid stuff at work, and I thought Ryan actually cared about me. He didn't. He used me. I see that now. I shouldn't have said those things to you. Which part? I asked calmly. The part where you said you'd rather take another man to your sister's wedding? Or the part where you acted like I should just be fine with it? She went quiet. I didn't mean to hurt you like that, she said finally. I just wanted to feel appreciated. You were distant, Ethan. You never made me feel like you were proud of me. I almost laughed. Right. So you replaced me with your coworker. Makes sense. She sighed. Can you not be sarcastic for once? I'm trying to be honest here. I am too, I said. You made a choice, Samantha. You wanted excitement. You got it. And now that it blew up, you're trying to rewrite what happened. That's not fair. No. What's not fair is being loyal to someone who humiliated me in front of her own family because she thought she could do better. The line was silent for a few seconds. Then she said softly, I miss us. You miss the version of me that tolerated you, I said. That version doesn't exist anymore. She sniffed quietly, trying to keep her composure. So that's it. You're just done. I was done the moment you chose your work husband over me. You just didn't notice." Before she could reply, I ended the call. For a while, she tried to act like she hadn't heard the message. She started showing up in subtle ways, accidentally liking my posts, replying to mutual group chats more often, even showing up at one of the networking events I attended. But every time she tried to start a conversation, I'd just smile politely and walk away. It clearly started getting to her. One night, she texted again, "Samantha, do you really hate me that much?" I didn't respond. An hour later, "Samantha, you could at least answer me. I just want closure." I turned my phone off and went to bed. The next morning, Mark called. "Hey man, not to stir drama, but Sam's been asking about you nonstop. My fiance's getting tired of it. She said it's embarrassing." I laughed. "Yeah, I'm sure it is." He chuckled. "Guess she realized what she lost, huh?" "Something like that," I said. A few days later, Julia and I went to dinner with Mark and his fiancée. It was a small restaurant, cozy, quiet. Halfway through the meal, I saw Samantha walk in alone. She froze when she spotted us. Julia leaned over. "Friend of yours?" I smiled faintly. "Old chapter." Samantha's eyes darted between us, realization hitting her. Julia reached for my hand across the table, casually, naturally, and Samantha looked away, pretending not to notice. When we left, she tried to intercept me near the entrance. "Ethan," she said quickly, her voice low. "Can we please talk for just a minute?" I looked at her calm. "About what?" She hesitated. I missed the way things were. I thought maybe." "No," I said gently, cutting her off. "You thought wrong." She blinked, stunned by how easily the words came out. Then I nodded toward Julia waiting by the car. "Take care of yourself, Sam." And that was the last time we ever spoke. 6 months later, life was good. Not loud, not dramatic, just good. Mark's business had taken off faster than either of us expected. We'd landed 2 big clients, and suddenly I wasn't just the quiet guy in the background anymore. I was the guy people came to for advice, the kind who didn't have to prove anything to anyone. Julia and I were still together. It wasn't a whirlwind romance or some over-the-top revenge glow-up. It was calm, balanced, and easy, everything my old relationship wasn't. We respected each other. We talked things through. She never made me feel like I had to compete for her attention. Meanwhile, word about Samantha's situation came through mutual acquaintances. Apparently, after Ryan ghosted her, she tried dating a few people from work, all short-lived disasters. One guy cheated on her with another coworker. Another dumped her after a month, saying she was too emotionally exhausting. Her sister had distanced herself, too. The engagement party drama, plus Samantha's habit of playing the victim, had burned that bridge. The last I'd heard, Samantha was renting a small apartment downtown and complaining about toxic men online. Every post had the same undertone, that she was misunderstood, unlucky, and trying to heal. I didn't comment, didn't stalk, didn't even feel much about it. She'd become background noise. Then one afternoon, out of nowhere, she emailed me. Subject, "One last thing. Hey Ethan, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I just wanted to say I'm happy for you. You seem to be doing well. I've had time to think about everything, and I realize how badly I treated you. I wish I could take it back. I miss who we were before things got messy. If you ever want to talk, I'd love to catch up, even just as friends. Take care, Samantha." I stared at the screen for a while. 6 months ago, that message would have torn me up. Now it just felt hollow. I thought about all the nights I'd stayed up wondering what I did wrong. About the humiliation of being replaced by a work husband. About how she'd looked at me with pity, like I was the safe, boring option. And then I thought about Julia laughing in the kitchen that morning while making coffee, barefoot, wearing one of my shirts. About Mark calling to say the next phase of our project was getting media coverage. About the quiet satisfaction of finally having a life that felt peaceful. I clicked reply. "Hey Samantha, I appreciate the message. You're right, I am doing well. Things have turned out exactly how they were supposed to. I'm glad you're reflecting, and I hope you find whatever peace you're looking for. But as far as catching up, there's really nothing left to talk about. We closed that chapter a long time ago. Take care of yourself." Ethan. I hit send and archived the thread. That was it. No drama, no satisfaction, no need to twist the knife. Just closure. 2 weeks later, I ran into Mark and his fiancée for dinner. They told me Samantha had shown up at their place unannounced. crying, saying she'd lost everything that mattered. Her sister had finally told her to move on. I didn't say much. I just nodded. Mark smirked. You handled that whole thing better than anyone I know. Most guys would have tried to rub it in. There's no point, I said. She already did it to herself. Later that night, Julia and I were walking back to the car. She slipped her hand into mine. You seem quiet, she said. Just thinking, I said. About her. About how peaceful it is not to think about her. Julia smiled softly. That's a good place to be. Yeah, I said, looking out at the city lights. It really is. And for the first time since it all started, since that day she told me she was taking her work husband to the wedding, I realized I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even hurt. I was free. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.